Direct from Foxborough, Massachusetts, the gem of Norfolk County, and taped at the studios of Foxborough Cable Access. It's Foxborough Central. And here's your host, Bob Hickey.
And welcome to another fantastic episode of Foxborough Central. I am Bob Hickey, your host, thanking you for taking a little bit of time to join with me and my guests as we talk about the people, events, and organizations that make Foxborough truly the gem of Norfolk County. And I want to thank you especially for joining me for special 2016 election coverage. I'm here joined by Jim DeVellis. Jim.
Hey, Bob. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being had. Coming out here.
Let's go.
Well, speaking of which, because you are an incumbent running for another term on the Board of Selectmen here in Foxborough. Yeah. So, I say that in jest, but of course, it's such a large amount of work and a commitment. I'm tickled, I think a lot of people are, that you're running again. So let's just go to the beginning of, this is your third term?
Going into my third term.
Going
so I'm
into
just
your
finishing
third
up my
term.
second term. Yep.
So for people who want to vote, of course, May 2nd is election day here in Foxborough, and it's important to get out and vote. And of course, Jim wants you to vote for him. And I assume the family is excited about this.
They are. Yep.
I've been seeing the notes of support, and I know there's a pig and pinwheels. So and you've got a unique
pig at Christmas, and it's made the rounds. So actually, other people are asking to borrow it for their campaign. So it's out there. So.
Well, you can't get a pig, but you can get a pinwheel if you want. And people who want to get in touch with you and learn more about what you're standing for, of course, people who have been paying attention these last 6 years or more, because you're on the advisory committee before you were on the Board of Selectmen. So you've had quite a resume of service to our community. And so people can reach out to you. They can be your friend on Facebook at Reelect Jim DeVellis. Just be your friend.
That's it.
Follow you. And
everybody.
I get pigs and pinwheels on my Facebook, and it's amazing. They can also reach out to you if they have serious questions they want to ask at jamesdevellis@comcast.net.
Yep.
And 781-771-8104 is your cell number.
Correct.
And and I've always had great success getting hold of you if I needed anything.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's 24/7 on the cell and the email these days. So I try very hard to get back to people.
Good.
Within a few hours.
So you're enthusiastic about the campaign?
I am.
Things are going well?
Going very well.
Good.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit campaign. What's the driving force here in 2016?
Well, backtracking a little bit, we had a very successful fall town meeting. We got a lot accomplished. We got the new town hall. Spent a lot of time with the Sexual Abuse Awareness Committee, and added a new town law, trying to change the state law. So at the end of that, after 6 years, I thought, time to move on. It was a good time. There was no loose ends. So I sent a letter into the paper. And then within a few weeks, a couple of things happened. A lot of people were reaching out saying, would you consider another term? And not that there was no crisis, but they, thought I did a good job, and I enjoyed it. And then the other thing that happened was I started to get involved with new things that started already. The couple committees that were continuing on. So, I had a long talk with Nicole, my wife, and the kids, and I think this, so it all came together, and they had to write the second letter saying I've reconsidered, and but it's been positive. It's the people that have been reaching out are friends obviously, but people that have been on committees for a long time and involved, administration and staff, and even my business partner said, if you want to stay on, and he'd pick up the slack on the other end again. So things came together. So
you mentioned the business partner and the family, and there's so many areas that are impacted in one's life when one takes on a role such as selectman, and it's so much more than just a 2-hour meeting every other week. And you really personify that because of the work you've done on the committees for the prevention of childhood sexual abuse, and the work that you've done on that, going from the very beginning where the disclosures were made to the investigation, to then figuring out, okay, not only did it happen, but what can we do as a community, as a town, to shine the light and then make sure it doesn't happen again. So I would have to say that You know, and over a body of work of 6 years as a selectman, there's many things you can point to as being an accomplishment. But in my mind, that's clearly, you know, a superior one as far as looking in the scope of, you know, how important. You know, we fix a pothole or we create a legacy law that will hopefully prevent a tragedy from happening to a child down the road. That is a key accomplishment.
I mean, it was. I take a lot of pride with that group. You know, that's an example of when something comes to town that you don't expect. I mean, nobody expected this. I didn't expect it 6 years ago when I signed up for Selectmen. But when it comes, you know, Foxborough is full of people that want to help. So when we put this committee together, kind of handpicked kind of the cream of the crop people to put together how to address it townwide. And I didn't imagine how successful it was going to be. I mean, thousands of people have gone through the darkness to light, the training, the coaches. They've said thank you because you've done it, yeah, and it's eye-opening to the point where, so we changed the state law, and I got invited to a bordering town to present to their selectmen, and they're trying to do the same thing. So, you know, it's an example of when something bad comes to town, which was horrendous. It was before my time and your time here. But it was really the people that were affected and the people that were volunteers that came together to try to fix it. We'll never fix it, but it's come 180. You know.
But you know, you say that happened before, but unfortunately the reality is that it's an ongoing issue and it's not one that will ever go away. Yeah. And so it's really you know, eye-opening to go through the darkness to light training and see what the statistics are, and then to you know, overlay a classroom and say, you know what, statistically speaking, this segment has probably had something bad happen to them, and that's
when you look at the numbers,
an awareness issue that people try to not understand because it's so hard to comprehend and really difficult to believe. Yep. But the reality is that it's an ongoing issue, and it's one that's important that you and your committee did that work. So thank you so much for doing that.
And you know, the biggest thing, you know, aside from that is, you know, someone had asked me, you know, because it was a lull when I said I wasn't going to run, and then nobody else stepped up for a while. So some people had asked me, what does it take to be a selectman? And honestly, I mean, you've been there. It's not rocket science. You just got to listen. You got to work with people. You got to enjoy it. You got to spend the time. But you know, my people don't vacation very well. We stay local, and this is my enjoyment is, you know, we have kids that went through the school system, and you know, we coach. We're involved with the community, and you come out of these committees and the volunteer work with more friends than when you came in, and you surround yourself with good people, and it just keeps growing and growing. So, you know, so I encourage anyone that wants to run or get involved or volunteer. You come out, even though it's a lot of time, it's more rewarding than what you can put in.
Well, I would agree with you on that. I cherished the couple terms that I spent and made good friends, and I thought did some positive things. And let's talk about some of the really positive things that we can all look at. Anytime we go up to the high school, of course, the turf field up there. What an accomplishment. You were on this program talking about it at the beginning, and it's so great to see it mature and be laid out there.
8 years ago that started.
Yes, and be used. It is in heavy use.
With the snow out there today, it's there's no other field in town, so
that's
it's the only one being used. So it's you know, and that's another good example. It was just everyday average people that we put together, from secretary to treasurer to engineer and we just kept pushing and pushing, and you see the towns that don't have that now are struggling, you know, because you've got sports that are 3 and 4 seasons long, and there's just not enough fields to go around. So it you know, and it was good. It's another example that the town saw the benefits, and the timing was in a place where capital projects were at a lull. We were able to get it in, and between the concession stands that just got funded and then eventually the bleachers, we're going to walk away with a $3 million field and complex for less than half the price.
That's amazing.
So it's you know, a lot of volunteer work.
Well, I was going to say a lot of volunteer work and a lot of hard work goes into that, and planning and forward planning. I always say that when you're not necessarily a selectman, but school committee or any committee that is working on long-term capital projects, you really got to take that 5, 10, 20-year approach as to, all right, the groundwork being laid now is going to reap benefits. And so the town supported your vision and the committee's vision that there would be eventually bleachers, and there would eventually be a track, and there would eventually be the infrastructure to support the field. And the field, of course, was the first piece. And so that's all coming together.
That whole community center where you can walk out of the high school, walk from St. Mary's, walk from the booth, and have graduations and all that stuff, where you just, very odd to leave the high school to have to go to your field that's in the Ahern, so it came together at a good time. So.
Yeah. Well, to that end, I guess the key to effective leadership is good communication, and I'm going to communicate right now. We're speaking with Jim DeVellis, who is two-term member of the Board of Selectmen, twice hired, looking to be hired one more time for a 3-year term. Currently the chairman, and if you want to get in touch with Jim, of course, his information is all over the place. You can go to the town website and get this, but I'll give it to you also. You can check him out at jamesdevellis@comcast.net. Drop him an email, ask him a question. I'm sure he'll respond, or you can call him directly, should you feel so compelled. It's 781-771-8104. Or if you want to see pigs and pinwheels, you can be his friend on Facebook at Reelect Jim DeVellis. Your youngest, I think, is the one who's the driving force behind the
pig.
The pig.
Well, all the kids wanted it, and of course, two are at college, and leaves a pig, and so it's my wife and I that take care of it. It's a labor of love.
Well, my 2 kids are in college, and we've got legacy rabbits, so I suppose it is what it is, right?
Yep.
Danielle's doing well.
She's doing well, finishing up her second year at Mass College of Art.
Fantastic.
Brian's at physical therapy studying it over in ULowell. So they're very busy, and it's going well.
Fantastic.
Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
Yep.
We're not going to knock too loud because that'll interrupt the microphones, and Paul Beck, my great volunteer in the booth, will not want me to do that. But when we're sitting here talking about why we run, let's talk about the future. What in the big ticket item, of course, is the town hall. But that's been funded, and if I could just take a second to talk about what a success that was, coming in 10% under budget. As far as the bidding goes, who knows what the actual outcome will be, maybe even greater under budget. But let's talk about how this whole process is going to play out for the next few years.
Yeah, so last night we had the groundbreaking ceremony, and
You're talking about
the town hall. Are you talking about
on Tuesday, April 5th?
Yes. Okay. So I forgot where time was here. So April 5th, Tuesday, we had the groundbreaking, and looking out at who came, it was the permanent building committee and the members from the ad hoc committee, the advisory committee, and a lot of staff and a lot of people came down to watch it, and I got the opportunity to thank people and really look back. That project there was probably 10 to 15 years of kicking it around, funding it, not funding it, getting it to town meeting and having it fail for different reasons. But the big difference, I think, this time is we have Bill Keegan, who came in. So he's just finishing up his second year. We're going into his third year now.
Time flies.
It sure does. And that was on the tail end of a town manager that arguably was not the right fit for Foxborough, and I'll say that. So he came in and kind of righted the ship on this. And his philosophy was, let's bring this project, similar to they did to the library and the high school improvements, to everybody. So it was on cable access, we had shows, we were in living rooms, senior center, and vetted it probably more than any other project I've seen vetted in town. So when we did the groundbreaking, it was kind of nice to see that project is better because of that process. Everyone had, it wasn't an armchair design that everyone wanted, they had little bits and pieces, but it was refined, the pencils were sharpened, but the broader picture is it gave us the opportunity to look at all of our buildings. And now we have implemented a maintenance program, and with the vision of what's going to be the next project. So the next one down the line is the Burrell School, which is very in dire straits of handicapped accessibility and bathrooms and a new roof. And I think the boiler is held together now on rubber bands. It's in tough shape. So we just got approval from the MSBA to go to the next step. So that's probably going to be the next project.
In Massachusetts?
Permanent Building Authority.
Okay.
So that project is going to benefit from the leadership that we have now, the Bill Keegan, the Mary Beth, and we've had changes. When I first came, into the advisory committee. I was probably the most unpolitical. Someone said, you should be on the advisory committee, because on the soccer fields I had talked to them about a conservation issue. And I just showed up one day and I started participating and I voted, and they had said to me, who are you? It was 15 people. It was the first night. So I introduced myself and they said, you just can't show up. You've got to be appointed. So that's how I met our town moderator, kind of went backwards.
That's great.
And so when I became selectman, my engineering background, what I thought was I was a professional at, was the infrastructure. So my goal was to put, like a lot of the other towns, the roadways, the trees, the parks, all together under one umbrella with the Department of Public Works. And that's worked out phenomenal. The other things that kind of hit me over the 6 years that I didn't so much plan for, I think, is what's the nice things. You look at things like the power outages or the casino or the liquor licenses and all that stuff. Nobody saw a lot of that stuff coming, the
Right.
Sheehan stuff. I get a lot of pride and a lot of satisfaction working through projects. When people say, what's going to happen in the next 3 years? I'm comfortable saying, I don't know, but I hope it's something good. We've got a phenomenal foundation right now between the professional staff. Some of the longtime people had retired and new volunteers are coming in. There's a lot of energy. Financially, we're in good shape. You look at around some of the other towns. North Attleboro just had an election and they got rid of all the incumbents. Plainville, they got rid of an incumbent that's been there for 30-something years. Because I think change is good, but when you look at Foxborough, I'm always, and one of the reasons I said I wasn't going to run again, because I truly believe change is good.
Change is good.
But in this particular case, we've got such a good foundation. I'd like to run with it a little bit more to see what we can do. What it's going to be, I can't tell you exactly, but from the capital projects to you look at example, the flagpole. I just saw Jack Othelette in here a little while ago. Asked and answered, we needed something done. We raised a lot of money, a good balance between town, government, and volunteer families and businesses. I'm going to put a time capsule under there for the next 50 or 100 years. And people enjoy that stuff. And no matter what the project is, I think we're equipped because we can surround ourselves with good volunteers, good people, good community, and the sky's the limit.
Well, you mentioned the flagpole, and that's a phenomenal segue into the importance of communication, but also the importance of community. And to truly be a good leader in this town, you have to embrace all of the town. You can't just play to one particular piece. And as the punches roll in, and you either embrace what the issue is or you don't, people remember. And I think one of the things that most people remember about you is that you face these issues. You face these issues. You don't. It would have been so easy with the Sheehan abuse allegations to have simply let that
lawyer
go.
up. Yeah.
It would have been so easy with the trash debacle, with the services when A.J. Dooley first brought it to the attention about the inequitable bid process, to just completely ignore it and just say, well, that's a town issue. But you and others on the Board of Selectmen, really stepped up and took control of the situation and said, all right, what do we need to do about it? And I always laugh about Foxborough, but it's so true, and I love this about Foxborough. We form a committee. And it's a committee formed of citizens, and there's always people to step up. You mentioned about the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
There's so many people that are willing to step up and help out. So when asked, people do.
They will do it.
And that's a key piece. And also the communication. What a great hire in Bill Keegan coming on board. He's a friend of Foxborough Cable. He has a show here, and he goes way above and beyond the call of duty when it comes to communicating.
He does.
That's a key piece of any successful project, is to let everybody know what's going on.
And you look at this winter wasn't too bad, but we had a couple decent storms, and he was on a cell phone at 11 o'clock, midnight. He knew the addresses. He knew the places that were out of power. We had one person that owns a lot of apartments saying, we've got elderly, we've got people, and he's answering his phone at midnight, and he's not from Foxborough. Right. So he takes his job very seriously, and it reflects in the people that are around him. He's implemented department head meetings and team building groups and things like that. And I sat with him this afternoon for an hour and a half with someone from the ad hoc committee just to make sure that the process for the town hall, everyone was all set before we moved into construction. He didn't have to do that. He could have just gone on to the next project. But it's been a good mix. When you're saying things come and we don't ignore it. If you come to the Selectmen's meeting any night, any night that we have it, there's always citizens' input. And a couple years ago, there was we're not a love fest on that board, and some of the good change comes because people have the ability to come to us. It's an open mic at the beginning. Some selectmen years ago wanted to get rid of that.
I remember.
But I said, no, that's you take the good, the bad, the ugly. If it comes up, you deal with it. And there's a balance. You don't want to embarrass anyone on the microphone, but you don't want to stifle it. So when people come up, we encourage it. Say it like it is. Get out of your living room. Come to the meetings. Say it, and we'll deal with it. Whether it's good or bad. And I think people appreciate that.
Well, it's that type of leadership that makes you very popular selectman.
Well, I say me. It's the whole board right now does that. No, I don't think anyone shies away from controversy when it comes.
So it's that type of leadership that makes each individual member of the Board of Selectmen good for the role.
There you go.
And we're glad you're doing it. So I'm going to let you have the last word, of course, while you're gathering your thoughts. I'm going to remind everybody that we're speaking with Jim DeVellis, who is the current chairman of our Foxborough Board of Selectmen. Served 2 years, wants to serve 2 terms, my apologies, wants to serve another term. If you agree, of course, come out and vote on May 2nd. It's so important for you to come out and vote. Polls open at 7 a.m. for the early birds, and they close at 8 for those of you who maybe not quite so early. And of course, stay with us after the polls close right here in Foxborough Cable Access as we bring you live election night coverage. But before that happens, you have to vote. Jim wants you to vote for him. If you want to ask him a question, you can always reach out to him at, I'm going to look at my notes, James DeVellis at Comcast.net. You can send him an email or you can call him at 781-8104, or my way, be a friend of his on Facebook. Check out the Pigs and the Pinwheels.
There you go.
Jim, last word.
Just simply, thank you. If you can get out to vote, it means a lot to all the volunteers when you come out and vote. When the numbers are high, it means people are involved. They want to see their vote count, and it does make a difference. Foxborough has been very good to me, my wife, my 3 kids. Raised them here, went to the schools. Very proud of the town, and it gives us a good feeling to give back, and I enjoy it, and I think I get more out of it than I give sometimes. But and lastly, I mean this. Everyone says, "Oh, thanks to cable access, Foxborough Cable Access." Lauren Batar was there last night at the groundbreaking. She was going from there to a meeting at the not the JC's, the Founders Day Committee, and then she's going someplace else. Then we moved our meeting to the middle school, and we had 2 or 3 cable access guys show up with microphones and cameras. You guys are doing a phenomenal job. If anyone at home, we've got 9 candidates for the school committee and selectmen. There's plenty to watch on cable access. You've got a good library to watch past meetings. Just Google whatever the topic is, it'll pop up, and spend an hour on cable access. It's a phenomenal service that you guys do to town, for the town. And I think once people get on it and see all the stuff that they can do, or can see from the political stuff to the plays to the music to the church, it's a benefit to the town, and I truly mean that. Thank you for doing that.
Those are great, very kind words, and I'll also say that leadership is a key, and we've got a wonderful executive director, Michael Weber,
Yes.
Who grew up in our schools and has been with the cable movement since his beginnings. He's a phenomenal leader here. In fact, it was gratifying to us and quite a feather because some of his technical drawings that he made for the
for the new town
hall, for the room, the way the audio equipment needs to be installed, ended up becoming part of the plan. And so it just shows what an interconnection there is between government volunteers, what we do here at Cable, and the community as a whole. So this is a big love fest, and if you love Jim, come out and vote for it.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate that.
You're one of my favorites.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, folks, we are so out of time, I cannot believe it. I hope you join us on May 2nd for live election night coverage, and I hope you remember to vote on May 2nd at the Ahern Middle School. Until then, have a great day, Foxborough. Take care.
Thanks, Bob.